They sent a letter, I showed up, showing it. Yeah. I mean, if they want to.
Good evening, everyone. This is a public hearing for Oakwood subdivision, phases 1 through 5 special assessment district hearing. I'll call the meeting to order, and please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I've talked to a number of you over the last few months, and the staff has talked to some of you also, but I don't know who we've talked to and who we haven't. So I guess I'll start with a synopsis of how we got here. As you all know, there was a petition to repave Oakwood subdivision. That took place, and there was a special assessment tax roll prepared, and that was based on a estimated cost by the maintenance department for putting 2 inches of asphalt, milling and asphalting the road. In the spring of 2015, starting about the first part of April, when the frost started coming out of the ground, it became apparent that several of the streets had severe issues with the bases of those streets. And in late April, March, that time frame, took several pictures of those streets and asked for a meeting, a joint meeting with the maintenance department and the engineering department. In that same time frame, the bids were going out for the catch basin repair part of the project. At that meeting in April, passed the pictures around and discussion ensued. There was the head of the maintenance department, Anthony Branch, the head of the construction repair crew that is part of the maintenance department, which does the machine patching, chip and seal, all that kind of stuff for the maintenance division of the road commission. After reviewing the pictures, discussing it, the men that were representing the maintenance department threw their hands up and says that they did not have the equipment or the know-how to complete the job. And the people that were at the meeting from the engineering side, which was the managing director, John Daly, John Pomondon, the head of engineering, Fred Cavanti, Richard Hill, Alex, that was going to be the engineer for the catch basin repair, and there may have been a couple more other engineers there. And when the maintenance department said that they can't do it, and that the best thing for me to do was, I told them, what do you mean? There's a contract signed, really not an option for me. I can't go back to the township and say, the road commission can't do it. Some more discussion ensued, and their recommendation was that I told them they've already prematurely collected a year's worth of special assessments before the hard numbers came in, and this next winter bill is going to have another one on it, and these people haven't seen any work at all done. It's just not right. So, after quite a lengthy discussion, and Alex and a couple of the other engineers suggested that they do it. The engineering department as a whole, those are supposed to be in February. Projects like this are supposed to be in February, and then they ship the engineering out, and that deadline was way past. So Alex and several of the other people said, well, we'll squeeze it in. 2 or 3 of us will get together and we'll do a review and see if we can get this thing done this construction season. So the biggest problem with those streets was the base, and that the milling equipment and the paving equipment was too heavy to even do the work on those streets. So that's why the maintenance department threw their hands up and said they couldn't do it. So after more discussion, John Daly and the head of engineering and the head of the maintenance division came to a verbal agreement that the maintenance department would do as much as they could, and then the engineering would go out and do some engineering studies and do soil borings and see exactly what we were up against with the base. And in fact, this is Richard Hill here from the Road Commission. He's part of the engineering division, and he was there at that meeting. And so we verbally agreed to, that's what the engineering would do. They would go out and do some soil borings, and we knew that the catch basin project was going to be let in July, and they would can't remember for sure. But anyway, that they were going to come and saw cuts for those catch basin repairs. So once they did those saw cuts, we would know exactly what we were dealing with the depth of asphalt and in those areas. So at that point, there was a few weeks elapsed, and they went out, and when the weather was good enough, they did. Probably some of you saw them out there doing soil borings and that kind of stuff. And they determined what needed to be done to accomplish the project on those streets. And the engineering people pulled it together and did it in-house, did the engineering in-house, and got the engineering work completed and prepared it so that it could be bid. I guess it was July is when we did that project.
July 13th.
July 13th. And between spring and July 13th is when they did the engineering work. And they decided what had to be done to those roads, and it was bid out. And the contractor, that bid was let. And I had come back to the board explained the situation to the board, and the board voted to go ahead with the project and approve the reconstructions of those two streets that needed to be done to accomplish the project. Part of the issue was not tearing up the rest of the subdivision while this was going on. So we decided that part of the lane, Walden, Woodstock, couldn't be done by maintenance because of the heavy equipment that would be involved in the reconstruction. So that contract contained the work on parts of those streets. Those of you that lived there saw that it was done in a different time frame. It was close, within a week or two, it was done. So what it amounted to is that we ended up with 3 contracts. 2 of them predated myself. One was the catch basin contract. That was estimated cost to be around $150,000. That turned out to be $163,000, I believe. By the time we got to working inside that contract to repair other drainage issues in the 80% of the subdivision that was going to be done by the maintenance department. Early on in the engineering part of it, it was decided that Lewis K., who had the catch basin contract, it would be a waste of money to fix the catch basins on those streets that were going to be reconstructed. So we removed those from the contract, which the county had the right to do according to the contract verbiage when they let the contract. So there was money from that catch basin project that we could address some of the drainage issues. The engineering, Alex, Fred Pavandi, and I don't know if there was a third engineer involved in that, went and reviewed the curbing in the 80% that the maintenance division was going to do. And there was substantial drainage issues related to getting the water from the curb to the catch basins. So part of the catch basin contract was correcting any elevation problems with those catch basins. So then there was a item in that catch basin contract that was curb replacement for the curb directly behind the catch basins. So we had a cost per foot for curbing. So we didn't have to have a change order or anything like that. We could work within that contract, and Lewis K. agreed to that. So we took the money remaining in the catch basin contract and attacked the drainage problem of the curbing as much as we could. We took the worst drainage problems first, and then the county had the ability under the contract to increase the amount 8 to 10%, something like that. And we agreed to, we didn't have to agree to it, it was part of the contract that they could do that. So that's how the contract got to $163,000. So there was places in the sub where the back of the curb was at the level of the asphalt. So when you do a milling operation and a paving operation, you use the front edge of the curb to guide the equipment. And there was several places where the curb had sunk so far that it was impossible to follow the curb. The road would do one of these businesses. curbing, I don't know if you remember, Richard. I think we added about, I don't know, 300-400 foot of curbing to address these drainage issues. And the curb replacement was specifically for addressing drainage problems. It had nothing to do with cosmetic, it had nothing to do with cracks, it had nothing to do with appearance. It was just to address drainage problems and getting the water to the catch basins. I know there are several people that think their curb ought to be been replaced, but that was a engineering decision about what was needed to get the water to the catch basins. Part of that contract was that any sub pumps that were hooked up to the catch basins, they either had to be repaired or reconnected. So there was an item in there about reconnecting those sub pumps and drains into those catch basins so they wouldn't be separated. So we had an item in there for that. So in some instances, when they repaired the curbing, they ran into drain lines. So some of those drain lines, because of the curb repair, had to be realigned, fixed, whatever the situation might have been. And as a lot of you know, there's still sub pumps that are being dumped to the back of the curb and over the curb into the yard. That was not part of the catch basin repair. That's a whole nother problem that would need to be addressed in a separate contract. So then we proceeded to there. What we were looking at was a 400,000 plus reconstruction contract. Part of that was paid for by the reduction in the $500,000 estimate by the maintenance department. It turned out that the maintenance division did a little less than $300,000 worth of work. So that money got put towards the reconstruction. So that got us to the point of letting the contract for the reconstruction. It was estimated at $450,000. There was two bidders. I'm going from memory here, I believe. The low bidder was $470,000. It ended up to be $472,000. The high bidder was 20 or 30,000 less than 60,000. So it was like 570-something thousand. I've got it here, but I don't want to bother looking it up. So the low bidder got the contract. So I'll get to the bottom line here and I'll stop talking. As of this date, the total project cost was $992,000. Of that, there was 3 contracts. One of them was the catch basin, which was approximately $163,000. The maintenance department, that was $281,000. The reconstruction contract was ended up to be $472,000. So out of that $992,000, the county and the township, with their funds, paid $238,600 as of this date, because there still may be bills straggling in that the township will have to pay. So that left a total of $753,706. So, which precipitated this meeting and the need for this meeting. So you all received letters and you've got what the proposal change to the assessment role is. During the summer, we were all concerned about the cost, trying to figure out how to deal with it, how to best approach it to the residents of the subdivision. One option was to have a public hearing and change the yearly amount and leave it at 5 years. Talking with the treasurer and separately with the clerk, the amount of grief that would cause everybody with their escrow funds, making that pretty miserable for everybody. And we're all aware of that. By the time you change that, escrow people get behind and get a letter saying that you didn't have enough in. And so that just didn't make any sense to us. So the other alternative was just to add a couple more years on to the time frame, and that would get us to the point of having this project completed and paid for. Since this hearing is for receiving your comments, we have, and people could also do it by way of letter, written form. I have to say, we received 10 letters. They were, all of them, good letters. Had serious questions and concerns. All of them were protesting the revision. Several of the things that came up in those letters, I might as well answer. Maybe it'll help the rest of you. Special assessments historically in Gaines Township are self-funded. We created back 12, 14 years ago a road fund for asphalting and large culverts, and we put money, dedicated money to that fund. So that's the vehicle by how we pay for those improvements. The money that is, more money is needed to transfer into that. We transfer from our general fund balance and dedicate that money to the road fund into that project. And we did several of them, 4 or 5 of them like that. Several people were concerned that they see on their tax bill a drainage district that is drain number 122, and they expressed concern that they don't want to see any more drain assessments on their tax bill. Those drain assessments on your tax bill come from the drain commissioner's office and are for the county drains, where all of the water from those road commission catch basins drain into. So none of the work that was done on the catch basins were county drains. So the outlet for those catch basin systems go into a county drain. So from time to time, you are going to see an assessment for drainage and that's for the county drain. And if you're familiar with the drain, it's that big ditch that runs from the north to the south that crosses Hill Road. That's the collector there. And there were several questions about inspection. The maintenance part of the project, the head of the crew that did that, Ron, I believe, Latimer, was in charge of overseeing his crew. So he was responsible for 80% of that work. The part that the engineering side took over, the engineering department assigned an inspector to the project. And that's part of the cost that the road commission paid. And he was there every minute that the contractor was there to oversee the construction of the engineering side of it. There were several questions about how much was removed. One guy thought there was 3 foot dug out. There was 21 inches, I believe, was removed. And then saw that black stuff that was rolled out. That was to stabilize the base, and then the base went on top of that, and then 2 lifts of asphalt. So the engineering department was, through the inspector that they assigned, they did all the inspection for that part of the project. I think that's, I don't want to go through every concern, but those are the ones that were multiple concerns about that I thought might be of interest to you. So that's pretty much where we are. There is if you meet the criteria for deferral of a special assessment, that is available, and that paperwork is available, which there is pretty stringent guidelines for that, age, that kind of stuff. So that's available, and you can come to the township and get a copy of that paperwork if you think that might be something that would be advantageous to defer the special assessment. And that is possible. I guess that pretty well covers it as far as I'm concerned. At this point, we will take comments from the floor of people within that special assessment district, and that will become part of the public record.
Mr. Supervisor, if you'll also, just for the record, anything that you received in writing should be given to the recording secretary and attached to the minutes. That needs to be reflected as well.
Okay? And we will do it. And we were receiving it up until closing time, so, you know, want copies of the 10 others, that's fine. We can get those too. Clerk's office got them, I got them, so. At this time, I'll open it up to public comment. We will need your name and address, so that you will be included in the public record that is required by statute. So, and try to keep it to 3 minutes, you know.
Shirley Bensley, 9262 Sioux Lane. Former Supervisor Melky said he had $77,000 put aside for the catch basins. Is that part of that 163, or do you not know about that?
We ended up paying 81,000, and the
Okay.
county paid 81,000, I believe. I got my numbers right.
So you used the 77,000.
Yeah, it was 80. The township's share of the catch basin, which was not included in the special assessment district, was $81,580.90. And the county matched that.
Okay, and then one other thing, so we've already paid 2 years, so basically we're just gonna start from scratch, if it's gonna be 5 more years.
You put it that way, or there's 5 years left. You
Like a
know,
down
the
payment.
last one's like $90 or whatever it is.
Yeah, that one is just small. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Next, anybody? Go ahead.
Chris Fix, 5134 Mark David. I was a little confused. It sounded as though you said that the county bailed on their contract. Are they bonded?
No,
They're not bonded?
no, they,
Okay, but they bailed on their contract, and then because their contract said they could add 8 to 10% more, they did?
no,
That's not what I heard?
no. Which one are you talking about? The catch basin or the?
Whatever contract they bailed on, or whatever contract
That
they
is
were
the
responsible for.
maintenance division doing 100% of the paving.
Okay,
And they're the ones that said they couldn't do it.
they put a bid on a job they couldn't do. Now, you said the equipment
Well,
was too
it's
big,
not-
right?
Don't think of it as a bid. When you're dealing with the maintenance division, you're not dealing with bids. You're dealing with a sheet that comes back with an estimated cost.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if I'm supposed to be answering this or go along. I think it's the simplest thing to do, I guess. You deal with an estimated cost, and then that number is fungible. I mean, depending on the cost of the asphalt, the equipment that's used. If you saw the stack of bills that we got from the maintenance department, you would think.
Well, the
Trying to
equipment
figure 'em
too
out.
big kind of threw me for a curve there, but, okay, so now, you collect a land tax every year. The state collects a road tax from the gas every year, endlessly. Did you apply for any state funds for road work?
There's nothing like that available for this kind of work.
Well, that's what the gas tax is supposed to be for, is for road work, and you're supposed to be able to apply for those to help with that. No?
It's handled through community development, block grant money. All of the gas tax, which is generally considered to be Act 51 money for townships, all goes to the county road commission. And all of that road tax money goes to pay for everything that the road commission does.
Okay, but then now the road commission comes in, and then they charge you on top of all that. So they're double dipping? Am I understanding that correctly?
No.
But they're the ones that bailed on you too. I'm really
Well,
confused
they
about what happened
tried
there.
to. They tried to, but they didn't let them. Okay, we're getting into a dialogue, and that's not really what this is supposed to be, so I'm gonna have to backtrack here or something.
There's a lot of backtrack.
As far as getting into a dialogue.
Scott Cahoon, 9409 Elaine Drive. When this all started up, we were given an estimate of the cost, and we voted on it. We agreed to that cost, is that correct? I'm asking you a question, can you answer that? We voted for it,
Give me a second.
we agreed to it.
I'm thinking how you phrased it. The